All right. Hi, Mary.
Hi, good morning.
So today, let's talk about connection. And as everyone knows, this is the beginning of our master plan of CLE for brain optimization. And this is actually really great because it's something that's fun and enjoyable. And
hmm
I think it'll be great for everyone to understand more about the research and like what really matters. So, can you give us a little information? We've already explained how connection is hugely important, but what does the research actually show that we need to do to use this to optimize our brain, especially in stressful times?
Yeah, well, you're right. It's so important, right? And especially during this time of COVID, we're all trying to connect in new ways. And sometimes it seems really hard and just kind of throw in the towel. But the research shows there's been some actually really interesting studies and like connecting people and their social networks and what happens with the people, like let's say you're in the center, who are the 10 people around you that you see the most, and if you change one person in that out of your 10 that you see the most, and they have more healthy behaviors, it affects your health, so the people that we see around us as professionals, we hear this a lot with our network is our net worth. It is value to us, right? So it also matters for our medical health and our medical wellness. And obviously, then, of course, if we're more medically well, then our brain is working better. And so that we're more productive at work. And so if the folks that are mostly around us are drinking too much, smoking, not working that hard, never work out, we take on some of those behaviors. So this is a good thing, right? So you can kind of think about your last week and who did you see the most and what were their behaviors. And I mean, I can give you a really easy example. Is my daughter was just in town, my adult daughter, and she told me about this app that she loves working out. And it's really simple to use. And if I didn't know her and she didn't work out, I wouldn't have known that. And so, so if we share resources, and we just do it naturally as we connect. The other thing with the brain is, and it's concerning actually now with a lot of people with COVID or older people or people isolated, is that our brain kind of wakes up to connect with humans. So we look at faces, we look at the emotional reactions, we're reading body language. So when we're physically with humans, our brain is busy evaluating a lot of things, not just words, but a lot of our behaviors. So whatever you can do to 6 feet away, stay connected to humans, that matters. There's also been some studies that if you have this multi-system kind of resiliency plan that we're talking about with CLE, we're better caregivers. So we can be more empathetic if we take care of ourselves. So a lot of times we just don't talk enough about how the brain is an organ that needs some attention, right? So if we want to be very productive at work, and stay strong and knock our, just rock those projects and work hard, and then still have time for our family or friends and to do things, in the evenings. We want to be working efficiently. So we want to think of the brain as an organ and what does it need and how does it work, right? So those are some of the things. It's very social and it needs healthy people around us because we need to see them and we need to get resources from them is really what's happening. So there's support and there's information and there's healthy behavior and it flows through your network.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's so huge to understand that like it's like proven that it impacts our own health. So,
Amazingly, even one new person. Yeah. So then that's also something really important, right? Is to evaluate your network. And we do that professionally. Like a lot of times we have a worksheet, like who do we know, who's on our network, where are our holes, where do we need to beef it up? Well, same thing for this. Yeah.
right. So kind of identifying who you're spending the most time with and
hmm
understanding, are these people that are kind of lifting your behaviors, helping your habits,
hmm
doing things that you ultimately want to do more of, or are they people that bring you down, and knowing that that actually impacts your health and your ability to optimize your brain?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and there's been some also interesting studies looking at even, young adults. So when you're in, let's say you're new to a university, they assess their social networks. So, or if you're new to a job, they assess your social networks and your success in that new environment depends on your social network when you started. So again, professionally, we talk about this all day long, building a network, but for us personally and for our brain health and brain function, we want to think about that very strategically. So you think about who you saw in the last week, especially the last 10 people, or the people you see the most in a month's time, and what are their behaviors like? Because we play off people's behaviors, like we're assessing them and we mimic them and mirror them, and we don't even know we're doing that, right? So, and also they're what we call affect, like someone's emotions. So
Right.
if we're always around negative emotions, we will mirror those. So that's what I'm saying. Strategy toward this is really important. Because it's not a verbal thing. It's not that you're always doing exactly what they do, but the brain does this. It mirrors the
Right.
emotions of the person across from us. So if you're like, "Oh, that was such a negative experience," you're not really sure why. I mean, that's why we sense other people's emotions.
Yes. It's just like you kind of pick up using words that other people in your social circle
Right.
flat. So
Hmm.
that's another good example of seeing that. That's awesome. And can you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about loneliness? And I mean, it's a big thing right now with so much isolation, not only from the social distancing, but of course with workplaces closed and us the inability to travel. I mean, loneliness and the brain, I know, are hugely connected. So can you share
Hmm.
a little bit on the research on that?
Yeah, so our Surgeon General of the U.S. has declared it a medical emergency nationally because a lot of people are living very isolated and they don't have like that person. So one of the kind of a test question in your life is if something happened at 4 in the morning and you needed to call someone, do you have someone to call that could drive you to the emergency room or pick up a child in the middle of the day? Like, do you have an emergency person? And if you don't, because you're new to town or you're in a new job, that's something to work on. Again, there's a strategy to this, right? And personally myself, I only want to do the things that I have to do or that are efficient, right? So this is where I put my time and energy to what matters. So the social network matters, and part of that social network is really evaluating. Sometimes you have to say, "Hey, will you be my like emergency buddy?" Because when a person has someone they can call at 4 in the morning, if there's a really unexpected emergency, believe it or not, their health is better, and so therefore their stress is better, and therefore their productivity is better during the day. So it's just kind of one of those, we can you just have like a network map, like what's there for you and where do you need to beef it up, if at
Absolutely.
all. And if you have it all in place, just congratulate yourself, and it's
Yeah,
good. You
know
have a
that that
healthy
matters.
network. Check it off, like you got that. And if anyone moves or leaves or something, then you need to kind of replace and be strategic about it.
I love that. Yes. And in
Yeah.
our guide, you will be able to see that, like, here's what you need to do. So making sure that you have that social network set, that you're evaluating it, and you're constantly, moving people in and out that are going to support you if you need to, and also making sure that you have that person you can call in the middle of the night. So check in on that for yourself this week. That's a huge thing. And know that those are actually things that optimize your brain. They're not just things that you quote unquote should do. So
Exactly. Super important.
awesome.
I mean, because loneliness is linked to a mortality, so a death rate. So when people are more lonely and don't have that social capital, they don't have people that could help them if they need soup brought to them or need to be taken to the emergency room or something, and people die more easily and more often because of loneliness. So we're talking about work productivity, but all of this is related, right? So we want to be the most optimal that we can be so that our work days are productive, and having this all in place is super important.
It's hugely important, right? Because we're
Mhm.
talking about resiliency, we're talking about building it and how, to understand what you can do. And these are the things that are aligned with that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and you just don't wanna leave it to chance, right? You just don't wanna like, "Oh my gosh, something came up before in the morning, I'm new to town, I didn't ask anyone to be kind of my point person," and these are the kind of strategic things that we need to do.
Right. And
Yeah.
you're able to make them happen.
Yes. Yeah. Strategy.
Great. All right,
Yeah.
guys. Your task for the week, making sure that this is aligned and hop into the how to video and then make sure you grab the guide.
Okay. Stay well.